Hi to all, my name is Paulo Correia, and my project aims to improve the way archaeologists communicate with the visually impaired public. I could call it inclusive archaeology. The title of my work is A World Touched and Heard, Making Archaeology Accessible at the Museum of Vila do Bispo in Portugal. So, an overview about my project. My main goal is to open the doors of this science, this archaeology, bioinformatics, and archaeogenetics, to the visually impaired. Actually, these sciences are traditionally for the ones who can see. And what I want to do is to democratize this knowledge and change this into an inclusive science. Vila do Bispo helped me a lot, received me with open arms, and I believe I can help them developing economically and culturally because they are in the western part of the Algarve. They have less visitors, they have less people living there, and less tourists. So I think my project can help attract another type of public. My initial focus is to understand the way the visually impaired see by creating a tool. And my first tool will be done with the help of psychologists. So bioinformatics and archaeogenetics in the museum can represent two areas that converge to provide a bridge between the past and the present. Through the analysis of ancient DNA extracted from human remains and archaeological artifacts, it is possible to unlock secrets about the human history, from migration of populations to the diet to the health of our ancestors, and transmit to us them accurately to the visually impaired as well by creating tactile models of DNA molecules using materials such as wood, resin, and 3D printing filaments. This allows manual exploration of molecular structures, promoting spatial understanding and mental visualizations of the data. At the museum, bioinformatics plays a very important role in the analysis and interpretation of data. Through the analysis of SNPs, it's possible to determine the identity of individuals. It's possible to establish relationships between them, creating a map of the demographic history of an ancient population. Comparing genetic profiles of archaeological individuals with the modern populations, it is possible to infer their geographic origin, mapping migratory routes and the interconnection between different groups. It's possible to transmit this information to blind visitors using sonification techniques, for example, uh, genetic patterns and sequences, creating detailed description of images, and graphs using 3D printing. About diet and health. Through the analysis of mitochondrial DNA and nuclear DNA, it is possible to reconstruct the diet of populations, identifying genetic diseases, understanding how environment and pathogens have shaped the health of populations over time. It is possible to analyze ancient DNA. It can reveal how humans adapted to different environments, climates, throughout history, providing insights into human evolution and the resilience of populations. This can be passed on to blind through 3D graphics. Is the way I pretend to give them this information. So, an interactive museum experience. I believe the museum serves as a stage to disseminate bioinformatics and archaeogenetics to the public, mainly the visually impaired public. Through interactive exhibits and educational tools, is it possible to explore processes of ancient DNA analysis, from extracting DNA from archaeological samples and bioinformatic analysis? It is possible to give an overview of the methods and techniques used. It is possible to use maps, graphs, and other visual tools to present results of bioinformatic analysis in an accessible and informative way, giving the chance to the visually impaired to explore the geographic distribution of populations, its evolution over time, and the relationship between different human groups. It is possible to discover individual stories through DNA. Through individuals' genetic profiles, visually impaired visitors can learn more about their origins, their diet, their health, their connection with human history on a personal level. I suggest workshops and interactive activities to allow visually impaired visitors to experience bioinformatics and archaeogenetics in practice by extracting DNA from simulated samples. Bioinformatics and archaeogenetics combined with techniques accessible to the visually impaired can be valuable tools for inclusive archaeology. Analyzing stable isotopes in human bones and teeth, it is possible to understand the diet of ancient populations. This information, I believe, can then be translated into tactile and sound descriptors, allowing blind people to understand the way people in the past eat and drink and other aspects of the population studied. Paleonutritional reconstruction. Tactile models can represent paleonutritional reconstruction based on biomolecular evidence. It can be described to the visually impaired, as well as ancient DNA studies reveal kinship relationships between individuals and populations. This information can be translated into accessible language as describing migratory patterns, family relationships, and between different groups, enabling the inclusion of people in understanding the genetic profiles of populations. So, the sonification of archaeological data. I pretend to use a type of sonification technique to change quantitative archaeological data into sound, allowing the visually impaired to explore patterns, relationships between different variables, like spatial distribution of artifacts in a museum or in an archaeological site. There are some ways that I pretend to use to tell the data, to communicate the data obtained by bioinformatics and archaeogenetics to the visually impaired. How, when adapting the Vila do Bispo Museum, they are use plain language and avoid jargon, provide alternative text description, utilize auditory presentations, incorporate tactile elements, engage with assistive technologies, encourage collaborative exploration, promote inclusive storytelling, seek feedback, and adapt. And about my strategies, I believe that using these tools and strategies, bioecology and archaeogenetics will become allies in inclusive archaeology, ensuring access to the blind people, to the richness of history, and to the archaeological knowledge. It also helps the archaeological side because as much public as we have, and archaeology is a funded science, I believe more funds we can get. Just to say thanks for your time.